Yeah, they got a tough blow that first week of the year, losing Strider for the season. I mean, there's no one in baseball who can replicate what that guy does. So that was a blow. Thankfully, Chris Sale has been awesome.
All right, let's get to the Dodgers brooming the Braves this weekend. So our brand new show, part of the FT network, is called Hammer Territory, and it had a very strong debut, topping the baseball charts on Apple Podcasts. And I saw it right next to that little Kelsey Brothers show on Spotify. One of the leaders of that pod joining us right now. It is Scott Coleman, part of the Hammer Territory team. Scott, great to have you as part of the FT fam and officially do this on the show. And also, what a start to Hammer Territory. How you doing besides what happened to the Braves this weekend?
Yeah. Very naturally, you launch a podcast on a brand new network and they get swept. They get beat up pretty bad. But very, very happy to be part of the Foul Territory family, and a lot of great stuff happening over at Hammertory. The support to get the show off the ground has been fantastic, and we're very grateful to be part of the team.
Thank you. Yeah, and I actually think they needed you more than ever because it's therapy session, right? I listened to last night's episode. So let's start with the offense, because this team has put up runs, but Braves fans have high expectations. So where are we at with some of the stars?
No, it's weird. We're about 20% of the way into the season, and they've gotten very little from their big trio of Acuna, Riley, and Olson. And at the end of the day, the team is 20-12, which is tough to complain too much about because that's about a 100-win pace. But that trio only has 8 home runs this year after hitting 130 last season. Of course, the National League MVP with Acuna, and then Olson and Riley finished top 10. So it's been a little weird. The last 2 weeks or so, they're averaging just under 3 runs a game, which is just odd for a team that set records last season, was historic in some ways last year with all the power. I think even if it doesn't feel like it in the moment, you just have to be optimistic they're going to break out of this. There's so much talent in this Braves lineup. But right now, man, it's been a little tough to watch them at the plate.
Scott, welcome to the crew. Seriously. Like, I just want to make sure that, you're focused on the fact that, we both have a really nice haircut. And I don't want you to be focused on anything else other than the fact that we both have a really nice haircut. Okay.
Yes.
So
yes.
That's the only thing I want you to look at on my screen when you answer. What's more likely? What you were just hitting on, Ozuna continuing to do what he's been doing, or those guys continuing to do what they've been doing in a negative sense?
Ozuna has been fantastic. He's been a savior to this lineup in some ways. I mean, he's as good as he has ever been, and he had a great turnaround last year. And of course, earlier in his career was so good. It's hard to imagine this going on for too much longer for that trio. Acuna and Riley both had home runs in LA over the weekend, which was encouraging. Matt Olson has one of the highest exit velocities in the game this year. Really, his profile in terms of StatCast is about what it was last season. He just hasn't had the results to show for it. So I just have to think that maybe as the weather warms up and these guys lock in, they're going to start to figure it out and put up some more runs. You just saw what they've scored in the last 10 days or so. That's just very un-Braves-like for what we've seen the past couple of years.
Hey, Scott, do you ever think maybe the reason the Braves aren't hitting homers is because their hitting coach, Kevin Seitzer, once told us that he hates home runs? So maybe they're just doing what he told us one time? Maybe they're finally listening to what he said.
Maybe. I don't know. They've done the opposite of that. Last year they almost broke the big league record, I think, for home runs. And this year they've been few and far between. And even when they have hit home runs lately, they've been solo shots. They just haven't had runners on base. The OBP is down. The strikeouts are up. So it's just been one of those things. I mean, I don't have to tell you guys, it's a long season, a lot of ups and downs, but they are very much in a down right now.
Like I said, they're just listening to what Seitzer told us back in spring training 1 year. He hates homers, so he's getting his wish.
How does that happen?
What?
He said, don't.
We had a meeting in spring training.
Balls.
We had all these guys, and he's like, we're in the cage, and we're sitting there, and he goes, first thing he says is like, we have this big meeting. Everyone's like, why are we having a meeting? We're at spring training in the cage. He's like, I just want you guys to know I hate home runs. And I remember Johnny Gomes, Freddie, Kelly Johnson. We all look at each other. We're like, what? We love homers. They're fun. And he's like, yeah, but then it leads to strikeouts if you just try to hit homers. And we're like, yeah, but I still want homers.
I would hope that he changed his tune at this point.
No, I heard it. I heard it on a different team. I heard the same exact speech on a different team. He would say core tight oppo. That was his thing. All sites.
Yeah, he's something. He was special. I'll just say that. Go ahead, Scott.
Well, actually, I was going to go somewhere else, but first, quickly on this: when you get swept by the Dodgers over a weekend like this, Braves fans have high expectations and they start throwing things out there. So, what are some of the wild replies you've seen from Braves fans over the last few days, calling for people's jobs and people to be benched? Like, what are you seeing? Maybe they do want. I mean, the natural thing you usually do is slam the hitting coach. That's like the easiest thing to do in sports. The fact that anyone goes beyond a year or two in that job usually is a surprise.
Yeah, we've seen it all. It is a passionate fan base for sure. Everything from Brian Snitker needs to retire to Seitzer needs to go to fire the whole benching or the whole coaching staff to Ronald Acuna Jr. needs to go to Gwinnett and AAA. I mean, it's just the gamut. I get it. It's people want to win every single game. But yeah, some of the takes, and then you add in the fact they get swept by a rival in the Dodgers, a team they, of course, have a lot of history with. Just kind of poured some gasoline on the fire.
So in my opinion, it's just one of those, it happens, the ebbs and flows of years. And people are concerned about this, concerned about that. We've been talking about hitting, though. I mean, the concerns as well from the starting pitching, too. Can you expand on that a little bit and let everybody know it's just going to be okay, or is it going to be okay?
Yeah, they got a tough blow that first week of the year, losing Strider for the season. I mean, there's no one in baseball who can replicate what that guy does. So that was a blow. Thankfully, Chris Sale has been awesome. Charlie Morton is 40 years old and still doing it at a high level. Ronaldo Lopez was kind of an unheralded free agent signing. I think most folks had him penciled for a bullpen role. And Lopez has been fantastic, a 1.5 ERA through the first month of the year. And then Max Fried has been a little up and down, but I think we all know how good Fried is once he settles in and gets going. There's going to be a bit of a carousel at the back end of the rotation, especially without Strider. I don't think no team can prepare to lose their number one like that. But the starting pitching, especially the last couple of weeks, has done its job to keep the Braves in games. I mentioned they're 20-12, even with the lineup in this funk. The pitching staff has kept them in most nights and given them at least a chance to win.
Okay, can we show everyone here for a moment? I just want to go back to Kratz's hat. Kratz, I know you were having your bald head dude moment, but can you show us that hat? I know it's early, but we need to see it. This is relevant for the question.
Was there something different about this hat?
It's the first place team in the division. It's the best record in baseball. But if you listen to episode number 2 of the relaunch of Hammer Territory, there is a little reasoning towards that best record in baseball from Scott and Brad and the rest of the crew. And that is what, Scott?
It's been a pretty soft schedule so far for Philly. I know that's a talking point. I know I'm going to hear from Phillies fans on socials because they're all going to play the same schedule at the end of the day. But someone had the note, I don't believe they played a team that's currently above 500 in the month of April. It's all going to balance out. I try to reiterate that a couple of times, but they have played a fairly soft schedule so far, and it's going to be a great race in the East. I think pretty clearly these are 2 of the 4 or 5 best rosters in the game.
So is it going to be the Braves series then? Is it going to be the Braves winning the division? Are the Braves going to be able to withstand all of these things that haven't gone right? And maybe Acuna doesn't have the season that he does. And what happens when the Braves don't win the division? Is that what they're really setting it up for, so they don't have to have those off days going into the playoffs with the detrimental death of off days going into the playoffs?
Yeah. Maybe they need to shake it up a little bit after the last 2 years. They win 100 games and then they disappear for a couple nights and then the season is over. Ultimately, I think the Braves are going to edge out Philly. Of course, the caveat, the pitching has to stay healthy. But it's going to be a real race. And over the past 6 years, the Braves have won the East consecutively. The Phillies have been right there. And as we've seen, Philadelphia just turns it on in October. Maybe that's just the randomness and flukiness of baseball. Maybe there's something in that clubhouse to give them an edge. But we'll see how the Braves navigate the next 4 months, because they very much are going to have a division race on their hands.
The only thing I have is, like I said, they're listening to Seitzer, and maybe they're listening to all the complaining Braves fans. Let's try not to win the division. Like Kratzy said, let's not have off days, because, every time we have off days, boo, we get everything right. Everyone's healthy, and then, no, the Phillies come and kick our ass. So maybe that's the plan. They're just trying to, get in the playoffs as the first wild card. That way they host the first round. Then they get to play, and then they get to play the Phillies in the second round, hopefully, and beat them. And if it happens, they're going to be like, we never want to win the division again.
Start tanking. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, you know what? They win 14 divisions in a row and won one World Series.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the clue. The key is just win the wild card.
Yeah. And during this run of 6 divisions, the year they won the World Series was arguably their worst regular season team. They only won 88 games that year. They won upwards of 90 in all the other seasons, a couple of 100-win seasons mixed in as well, and they just didn't have the success in October. So who knows? Maybe we'll clip this. Maybe it's the magic formula. Don't win the division, play a couple wild card games, and then make a deep run.
Time to tank, Braves fans.
Time to tank.
Hammer territory. Tanking. 101.
Also, do stuff at the deadline. I feel like it's rare to see a team be quiet and then win a World Series. Like, there's usually that big move that we point to. Braves had that. They made like 8 moves that year.
Yeah, I mean, they brought in a whole new outfield.
They redid their whole outfield.
Duvall, Jock Peterson. I mean, they brought in a whole new outfield.
Soler. I mean,
MVP of the World Series.
That was an impressive deadline for Mr. Anthopoulos. Well, again, Scott, it's awesome to have you on board. We'll bring you on here time to time. For the FT fans, we put Hammer Territory in our podcast page this morning, but we're not going to do that all the time. So you need to go over to the Hammer Territory podcast page, subscribe. You can see the QR code on the screen right now. And also, they just launched their new YouTube channel, which we'll start promoting this week as well. So, Scott, again, thank you for swinging by. Thanks for being part of the FT fam, the FT network, you and the rest of the Hammer Territory crew, and better times ahead for the Bravos.
Yeah, let's hope. Thanks, guys, for having me on. I've enjoyed the show for a long time, even before coming on the network. You guys do great work covering the game every day, and we're happy to be part of it. And if you know a Braves fan in your life, share the show with them. We're very, very appreciative of all the support, and we have a lot of fun. Like you said, better days on the horizon. Hopefully, let's hope they don't keep getting swept. The show might suffer a little bit, but it should be a lot of fun moving forward.
You guys will be fine. Braves will be fine. So thanks again, Scott. Appreciate you. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, fellas.
Hey, everybody. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content.
We're back here every weekday, all year long, so do not miss an episode.
The videos are coming in all day. Here's another video you might enjoy.
Baseball the way it should be covered.